Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'll be talking about how to play against Sky Striker, one of the more competitive control deck in the Duel scene, and at least in Master Duel is pretty meta right now. And there's a lot of people having problem fighting this deck, and I'll just want to share some tips and tricks that I usually go when I play against this deck. And yeah, before I go into the video, if you're enjoying this so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below also, and hit the notification bell, join our Discord channel, and if you have any interesting replay, do feel free to head on to the link in the description below to submit your replays. I don't need your recording, I just need an ID and screenshot of your deck list, and I'll be able to upload your replays onto the channel for everyone to see. Yeah, so do not hesitate to submit some video. Yeah, and so onward to the video. Okay, so firstly, Sky Striker is I think for those who already played before, you know that he's really a control deck, and most of the time it only has like one monster in the extra monster zone. That's because all Sky Striker spell has a precondition of you cannot control any main monster, any monster in the main monster zone, and that is why they only always have just one monster. Yeah, and all its spells also has an additional effect when there's 3 or more spells in the graveyard. So that is why Sky Striker likes to play like Upstart Goblin and stuff like Reinforcement, Terraforming, all this to actually helps to throw more spell into the graveyard so that it can trigger its second effect. Yeah, and then the main thing is also able to recycle the spell used, but only once. Because once it's recycled and once it's activated, it will be banished. I'll explain a bit more on how they usually do this. Yeah. So these are some cards to take note, so I'll try to go through each one by one. First thing, of course, the main monster is itself, Sky Striker Ace Ray. So a few things to take note is it has a quick effect to link into a link monster, but also if it uses effect to link into a link monster, that monster cannot be monster reborn because it's not properly summoned through the usual linking way. And then another effect to take note is, as long as it's in the graveyard, it's able to revive from the graveyard when you destroy one of its Sky Striker Link monster. So you can imagine the concept of it. The Link monster is when it wears its armor, and then the Ray itself is when he's not wearing the armor. So once you destroy Ray with his armor, it just like purge its armor and then return back to his Ray form, and then with his Ray form it can actually wear another piece of armor. So that's how I guess that's how the whole concept works. So one thing for this is, if you want to maxi a Sky Striker, maxi before Ray touches the field, because if let's say it's a normal summon and it's on the field, and when you and then you chain one maxi, it can actually chain 2 to link away into something else, so that your maxi won't resolve yet, and then it will already link summon. So for example, if your opponent use Reinforcement of the army to search for Ray, once Ray is added to the hand, just straight away activate your maxi, and then he or she will be forced to like think about if he really even want to summon Ray to go into either Shizuku or Kagari. You'll at least get one draw out from there. Okay. Next, I think this is one of the most important cards in the deck, which is Sky Striker Mobilize, Engage. This card searches for any Sky Striker card, including Ray itself. And then if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, it draws one card. And this card itself is not once per turn, so if I have 2 of them, I can actually activate 2. And then usually Sky Striker is able to add back this card to his hand using Kagari, which I'll explain a bit later. So if you can ash this, especially if let's say opponent already has 3 spell cards in the graveyard, if you can ash this, just go ahead and ash this. And if you have DD Crow, just banish this card as well. So this card is one of the stronger cards. Yeah, that draw 1 power and search is like it's as good as a Pot of Greed, and it's even better than Pot of Greed because one of it is you are searching for 1 card. Yeah. So similarly, all these spells you need to control no main monster for you to activate it. And then next we have they also have a Widow Anchor. This actually acts like a effect veiler where it targets one monster and negates its effect. And then the more than 3 spell effect is you can take control of it. But most of the time, Sky Striker won't want to take control of it, because remember what I say, if you have a main monster zone monster, you won't be able to activate the rest of its spell. So I think I will only use Anchor to control if let's say I already exhaust all my spell and I don't need spell for and I don't need to activate it for the other turns, for the rest of the turn. Yeah. Okay, Sky Striker Mecha Shark Cannon. Shark Cannon itself banishes one card from the graveyard, which is very strong, especially when fighting against decks like Eldritch, because once if it attempt to activate its effect from the graveyard, it can just banish it away. And then one of the things is it also can revive back that monster. So Widow itself can get one, and Shark Cannon can get one from the graveyard as well. But most of the time, Shark Cannons is used to revive either most of the time it's a tuner, which is your Ash Blossom. So if you already use Ash Blossom against Sky Striker, do take note of this Shark Cannon card, because once you get a tuner and the monster go into Hardy Freebucks, and Hardy Freebucks will go into Celine will go into Access Code. Yeah, so that's how usually Sky Striker go do their OTK, because if you realize Sky Striker is actually all really very small, like just 1,005 for all of them. Yeah. Okay, next multirole. Multirole is a card if let's say opponent already activate a Sky Striker when this is on the field. For every Sky Striker card that opponent activate that turn while this is on the field, you actually set back the number of Sky Striker card from your graveyard to your field. But if you use again, then you'll get banished. So one of the main thing for this is if you can stop this, either what's that called? I remember that Japanese is called Yashiki or Ghost Bell, sorry. Ghost Bell this effect, or just Twin Twister this away, or Harpy this away. This is a really very irritating card for Sky Striker. Without this, it will be very hard for them to recycle their card. I would say it's nearly impossible without a multi-role. So once you get rid of this card, their number of control or negation will actually drop quite a lot. Okay, lastly, after Burner, I think there's a few more other spells which you can go take a look. Just make sure you know its effect and its secondary effect when there's 3 or more spells. So this card is one of the cards to clear your monster. It destroys one of your monster on the field, and if there's 3 or more spells, it destroys one back row. So the good thing is this is not a quick play, so your opponent can't play this during their opponent's turn. So I would say it's not that scary, but the main problem is actually the Anchor and the Shark Cannon here, which is a quick play card. Yeah, and there's also Hornet to actually summon Ray out. So without Ray, actually this deck can't really do much. So if you can stop Ray from either linking, then or just like remove it, yeah, then it will be a lot easier to play. So Sky Striker itself has quite a number of link monster. I think these are the main ones. I don't think there's any extra ones that I'm not aware of. Yeah. So first thing is Kagari. Kagari, when summon, you take back one Sky Striker card from your graveyard. So usually once you activate Engage, then you'll get out Kagari to take back your Engage. And this effect is actually a target effect. So you can actually banish its Engage once it attempts to take it. Then Shizuku is when you enter, you search a Sky Striker card spell that is not in the graveyard. So usually we will want to make sure that Engage is either in the banish zone or in the hand, so that your Shizuku can search for another Engage. Yeah, this usually can only be satisfied if you use Kagari or you have multi-role to set back. Yeah. So I think I didn't really explain how multi-role works. So multi-role at the end of turn, you set back a number of spell, but then you can actually set back, let's say you can set back your Engage first, and then your Shizuku can then use its effect, because Engage has already left the graveyard, so your Shizuku can search for Engage. Hayate is when it attacks, be it declares attack or you declare attack to it, you can send a spell or Sky Striker monster card to the graveyard. Yeah. So usually how it works is you get Hayate, you attack, you send Engage, then after that when Engage is still in the graveyard, you summon out Kagari to take back the Engage. Yeah. So most of the time you can if you realize all the effects all just trying to get out Engage. So if you can stop Engage itself, you can actually stop the deck quite well. Okay, lastly Kaina. Kaina is something that you don't usually really see, but if let's say you attempt to destroy one of the Sky Striker monster, and if let's say that there's still a big monster that haven't attacked on your field, then they will just get Kaina out to stop one of your monsters from attacking. Yeah, so that's how it works. So since Sky Striker card has really low attacks, this Zig helps to solve that problem. It actually banish one monster on the field until the end of next turn, I think. Although it doesn't seem much, but the banish away itself actually opens up the field for Sky Striker to OTK. Yeah. And then yeah, lastly, this is not Sky Striker card, but remember the fact that I talked about Shark Cannon just now. So with Shark Cannon, if you have a tuner in the graveyard, just be prepared to take 5,300 from access code, and access code will be able to destroy all your cards on the field. Because if you realize Sky Striker card has all different element, so with access code effect, it can actually like banishes all the different element and then destroy everything on your field. Yeah, so this is pretty scary. Yeah, I don't know why this is here. Okay, so what are the main thing to take note to stop this deck? So one of the main thing is you can actually just kaiju them and give them a monster in the main monster zone, and then they can't activate any of the effect after that. But yeah, that's only during your turn, because actually when it's their turn, they can actually use multirole. Multirole has an additional effect where if you can send one card you control the graveyard, then after your opponent cannot activate cards in response to your spell activation. Yeah, so multirole actually solve that problem if let's say there's a card in the main monster zone. Yes, but then again, if it's during your turn, by throwing kaiju onto Sky Striker, it actually stops them quite badly. Okay, then next really is to just destroy the multi-rolls, prevent them from recycling, and yeah, it actually stops them quite a lot. Okay, next is banish Ray from the graveyard. This is so that if you choose to attack any of that Sky Striker link monster here, Ray won't be able to come back and then link to another one. So this is something to take note before you destroy this. Yeah, actually, if most of the time, if there's no way for you to get rid of its Sky Striker monster totally, you won't even want to destroy any of this, because once you destroy any of this, when Ray come back and let's say you can't even touch Ray, during the end phase, Ray will actually change into Shizuku, and Shizuku can search for one more card. Yeah, so if you're not confident to remove the link monster even after Ray comes out, stops you with Kaina, then don't even destroy it, just leave it there so that they don't get that one additional search. Yeah. Okay, yeah, another thing is, since it's a control deck, you destroying back row with Harpy, Twin Twister, all this will be very useful against it. And then yeah, and if you realize all the Sky Striker effects or spell, it actually targets needs to be target. Yeah, so if let's say you have a monster such as Avril Max, or cards that cannot be targeted by card effect, it's actually really hard for Sky Striker to remove. And actually there's nothing that Sky Striker cannot remove card that cannot be targeted, and that is why actually Sky Striker play this card called the Ningritsu to remove card that cannot be targeted. But that is not even part of the Sky Striker archetype, and actually makes the whole board very vulnerable for Sky Striker. So if you have any card that cannot be targeted, just bring it out. Yeah, because Sky Striker is only like 1,500 most of the time, although it has a attack boost and attack reduce for you. Getting out, let's say, a 2,500 untargetable monster is actually really bad for Sky Striker. They can't really deal with it. Yeah. Okay, so lastly, so are some cards that straight away stop the deck. I would say Imperial Order definitely, because everything is spell. So with Imperial Order, then your opponent, Sky Striker, won't be able to do anything. And that's also why Sky Striker play Infinite Imperm, so that they can actually stop Imperial Order for that moment, and so, to destroy Imperial Order after that. Yeah. And then that's also why some Sky Striker play Nightmare Phoenix to remove such cards. Yeah. And then Duel and Lockbird, because Duel and Sky Striker keeps on drawing, so actually Duel and Lockbird actually stops it quite badly for that turn, because if it can't add back cards, it's actually quite bad. They won't be able to like fill up the resources for the next turn. Yeah, and also of course Harpy Feather Duster, removing his back row will clear it, and most of the time it's hard for them to recover from that. But then again, if let's say Harpy is back row, means that there's a lot of spell in the graveyard, which means that it can trigger all its secondary spell effects, so that's something to take note. Yeah. And lastly, Cosmic Cyclone will be very devastating for Sky Striker, because they can't even get back their spell, and then their spell isn't even in the graveyard. So banishing their back row is actually one of the most efficient way to get it, but of course not a lot of people play Cosmic Cyclone. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for the Sky Striker. Not sure if this will be useful for anyone, but do hope that it does help someone who just first time fighting Sky Striker and not sure what they do. And yeah, if you're enjoying this so far, do remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell, join our Discord channel, and also submit some of your awesome replays to the channel so our viewers can take a look. And if there's any of the deck that you would like me to talk about, feel free to comment down below as well, or what are some of the additional info you would like me to talk about when fighting or when mentioning all these decks. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.